Welcome to my daily review. Today is Thursday, July 31st, the last day of the month. Tomorrow is August 1st. And we have the jobs report in the morning to look forward to and a couple of earnings reports. But I wanted to point out here a couple things on the Nasdaq. Yeah, it was down 7 points today, or 0.03%. Closed at 21,122. But that's not the thing that I want to talk about here. Just want to point out a series of weak closes here. And this is when institutions, show their hand here. You can see going back to the 23rd and here in the 24th and the 25th, these weak closes, right? Starts off strong and then closes weak, 21,202. So you buy the close and sell the open. And here it gaps up again here at the open and just weak close on the 29th. Yesterday, was plugging along. We know that was a really weak close yesterday after, PAL. And then today, gap higher, 21,457, the all-time high. And then it just sold off all day. Very sharp sell-off into the close, high volume close here to the downside. And to me, this is institutions kind of showing their hand. They're getting out of this market. They're selling, they're taking profits. And it's nothing it's to be expected, right? And I just want to point out that the index has made a big move, from the 14,784. We've been liberated, right? Had this big run, but now the market's due to correct, and it can either correct through price, which would be, maybe a pullback to the 50, or time, and it could just go sideways for a while. It doesn't have to go anywhere, right? It could just correct through time for a couple of months, just go sideways and consolidate these massive gains. So that's what I'm looking at, one or the other. I'm really not looking at for it to take out the high today of 21,457. Am I predicting that's the high for the year? No, not at all. I just think that it's time to stocks, when they make run, they form a base. It's time for the index to digest some gains. That's all I'm saying. And I just showed you the 10-minute chart, all those the weak closes, strong opens and weak closes. That's a tell. And like I said, I'm not making any predictions. I'm open-minded and flexible. It's just that would be my expectations, that we go sideways for a little while and chop around. There will always be stocks to trade, though. And that's what I look forward to. Stocks, not exchange traded funds. All right. I'm going to go through, first of all, earnings from last night and this morning, and then I'll get to a couple themes. And then tonight's earnings, that's tonight's video. Carvana reported last night, had a nice 17% move today. Yeah, it rallied up above 400. But, just like anything else, your stocks are going to have that same profile as the Nasdaq, run up and then sell off. And we saw a lot of stocks doing that today. Microsoft reported last night, outstanding number, closed near the lows of the session. You don't want to see that, but once again, popped at the open, sold off all day. Still, a 4% move for Microsoft. Meta Platforms, that one held its gains here. That's a nice power earnings gap, up 11% with 235% above the average daily volume. Gapped higher and kind of held its gains here. Closed at 773. So Meta, nice report, nice response. APLD, yeah, this one had a nice gap, 31% move with 162% above average volume. So yeah, another power earnings gap that I have to write about, right? APLD and Meta Platforms. I don't know if they'll qualify for my top five. ARM reported last night, down 13%. Yuck. KGC, this gold stock reported, it was up 4%, still consolidating within a base. That looks fine. AEM reported, and yeah, it's flat on the session. They're up nearly 1%, not bad. Robinhood reported last night. They reported a great quarter. They're still having, 45% revenue growth, 100% triple digit earnings growth, but it's made this big run, 240 something percent run. And now it's time, I think, to form a base. I sold my stock today, not because it did anything wrong. I just don't want to sit through a base building process. 2 Fridays ago, it made that high of a 113.44. So it's already 2 weeks into a base building process. And, I don't want to sit through 6 weeks of, building a base. And it just might go sideways for a while. It might make a 3 weeks tight and pop higher, but I think it needs a little more time to digest those gains, just like our market. And somebody asked me about Microsoft and Meta, why don't you hold those? Well, because Microsoft is a $3.9 trillion company. For it to have a two-bagger, a move like Robinhood, it would be like, $12 trillion stock. That's not going to happen. But a smaller stock like Robinhood making a 240% move, that's what swing traders like me are interested in, those types of moves. You don't have to buy the bottom or sell the top. Just get the meat of the trade, right? If you just got, this part of the trade here, right? You don't have to get, the high. Just get it here around 100. So that's what you're looking for as a swing trader. This meat right here, give me some meat, and Microsoft's not going to do that. I'm sorry, and neither is Meta. No, they're not, or Tesla, or Apple, or NVIDIA, or any of those. That's why I'm not interested in those. And as a swing trader, you're looking to make money and off big moves in short periods of time. Robinhood gave that to us, and I'm not expecting much more. Maybe it trades between 100 and 115. And I don't know. I just don't want to sit through the base building process. That's all. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. All right. Qualcomm reported last night, no bueno, down 7%. ALNY, this is a biotech stock. Yeah, nice move here, 15%. Thank you very much. Very strong move. Builder reported, and I was kind of encouraged by the action here because it pulled back to the 50. And I always tell folks, when when you're watching your stock and it's showing weakness, just look for where it finds support. And today it found support at its 50. And that's excellent, information to have going forward that it's finding support at the 50. I think these things have bottomed and they're looking, to move higher, but at the 50 today was 119.87. It traded down to 118 and then, rallied into the close. Let's take a look at this. So it's kind of opposite of the Nasdaq. So it had a gap down at the open. We saw buyers, and that's what you want to see. That's very important information for builder. If you're looking to buy a builder, I would like to see it get back above the 21, but support at the 50 is fantastic. I think, I saw that in the morning. I thought it was really going to get slaughtered. Carpenter did get slaughtered down 12%. This has been a leading stock all year. And now on earnings, you can see, the red numbers here and decelerating earnings growth, and it sliced its 50 with volume. So that's adios, muchachos, if I own that stock, which I don't. Howmet, oh boy, this one traded down to the 50 and found support. So maybe, we see some wonky moves around earnings, maybe some profit takers here. And then tomorrow we'll see some buyers. So it did hold its 50, it bounced and closed above it, 1.3% above it. So, earnings season, you're going to get some really crazy moves, and you got to observe where are they finding strength, right? Norwegian Cruise Line up nearly 10%. That was a nice move. Roblox reported this morning. I was a little disappointed. I thought this one was really going to fly, and it gapped up at the open, and it just sold off all day. So kind of like the Nasdaq, but still, if you own it, it's another 10% move. Traded above 150, yeah. So I don't know if that'll be the high for a while, but it's had a long, long run. 50 to 150. That's a three bagger. Not bad. All right. What else do we have here that report? Oh, Shake Shack. Yuck. Shake Shack. No bueno. Slicing the 50 with volume down 15%. And yeah, restaurant business is tough. Tough, 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 tough. All right. That's it for earnings and all that jazz. I'm going to move on to the semiconductors because they've been big players here recently. This is AMD. Pull back $3 or nearly 2%. Just pull back to its five. That's all. The five was what, 173.92, call it 174. The low today was 173. So AMD looks fine. They're going to report next Tuesday. So that will be the tell. And if you think that it's extended and can't go any higher, I invite you to the weekly chart where this thing is just forming a base. And yeah, it could use a handle for sure. You got this cup kind of with handle, excuse me, cup without a handle. It could certainly use, a little pullback here, shake some fools out before ripping back above 200, which I think it will do. Trade above 200 in 2025. We still have what? August, September, October, 5 months left. Rambus, they reported earlier in the week. Yeah, you can see it's up 17% this week. Had two nice days, bounce off the 21 there. on just a quiet day today. So maybe that one's starting to calm down. ALAB, this is one that I put on the ready list earlier in the week. And, I had some people saying, wow, it's extended, right? Well, I don't know. Depends. And my dog ran away today. My wife was walking my dog and it ran away and she was panicked and she called me. So I usually walk the dog and she, so she called me and I started driving around by the golf course where normally places where I take him, I couldn't find him. And finally, I went to this little court where he was sitting down there. He was panicked out. He's chasing coyotes, is what he's doing. But that reminded me of like you're chasing coyotes here, right? And you're never going to catch them, or they might eat you alive. And so that's why a lot of people don't like chasing a stock like ALAB after it made that big move there last week. It was up like 20%. But what happened is it pulled back to the five and found support, ran up, pulled back to the five. And the theory is, they buy not all at once, right? They buy last week, a little bit, they nibble and jack the stock up, then they nibble again. And so these are institutional footprints here, folks. That's not Aunt Sally buying this stock. So you're not chasing coyotes. um, with a stock like ALAB, but I don't recommend chasing stocks. It obviously depends on the market environment, and it sure worked out for ALAB. That one is looking fantastic. Another semiconductor name, NVIDIA made a new high today and pulled back, just like the index. I mean, yeah, gapped up at the open, then pulled back. I mean, everybody was rip roaring so bullish this morning. I said, this is set up for a pullback. Yeah, 183.30. That might be the high for a while. Another stock that reported earlier in the week that I said to watch was Seagate, and they had excellent numbers, right? You're looking at, triple digit earnings growth, 30% sales growth, and yeah, pulled back. There's going to be some profit takers after running from, 63 to 152, right? Maybe it'll have trouble at that 150 level, and it pulled back with some profit taking on Wednesday, but it closed, just a tick above its 21. And I said yesterday's video to watch this thing, and sure enough, today they came back, bought this thing up, and it made a new high, up 6.5%. So, all companies can do is deliver the numbers. It's up to these Wall Street to figure out, if they want to buy, sell, take profits, create a stake, buy more, sell more, and it's not the company's doing. It's just the mechanics of the trade. And when you have big run-ups like that, you're going to have some sellers because there's going to be profit taking along the way. Stocks don't go straight up, although it does appear like it has done so recently. All right. I want to get to the software names. I'm going to start with Rubrik. I had a good question on Rubrik today. I put Rubrik on, the ready list. It broke above its downtrend line. And somebody asked me, it's like, why do you wait, to, buy today above that, at 93 is where I'm more comfortable. And the reason why is because, a lot of stocks when they're forming bases, they trade beneath their 50, right? And he's saying, why don't you just buy it down here? Well, first of all, I don't want to sit through a base. It could be an 8 week base. It could be an 8 month base. You don't know. But as long as it's below the 50, I don't really want to buy a stock. A lot of institutions, they're just programmed. They program, the algorithms to buy certain stocks at certain moving averages. They just showed you Builder that got support at the 50. Why? Because the machines are programmed to buy the stock at the 50, and some are the 21, some are the 200. I mean, but so I'm not interested in Rubrik until it's above its 50. And that's why I waited until it was above its 50. It had a nice move yesterday up 7%, and it closed 6% above the 50. Now, that doesn't mean go chase it right now today. I think you can wait and get it there near that 93 level. If you chase today, this thing probably had the same profile as everything else. No, not bad. Okay, so it did kind of run up in the morning and then sold off like everything else into the close. So I hope you understand my point that above the 50, you're going to get some institution, some machine trading above the 50, and below it, you don't know. Let me go to CoreWeave here. So CoreWeave undercut the 50, and why don't you just buy it right here? It's underneath the 50. It's going to rally back up. Well, no, because that was like 132 there, and now yesterday it was like 100. So, it's a 30-point loss. So that's why you wait till it goes to the 50. Now, it had a nice day today, but this looks like the old avalanche trade where it just, runs out of sellers. And they got a double upgrade today, but this thing's way below its 50, way below the 21. And I would think they would be rejected at either one of those lines. I'm not interested in CoreWeave. I'm just pointing out that, that just because it's below the 50, you don't automatically buy it and it's just going to rip right back through. Now, Rubric happened to do that, but I still think it's forming the right side of the base, and the standard buy point is 103. And I guarantee you, if it gets above 103, there's going to be machines buying that stock above 103. But as to me, it's still got some time, but it is above its 50. It did break above the downtrend line. I think 93 is a fair buy point for Rubric. I hope I explained myself and kind of the thought process behind putting that on the ready list and waiting until it gets above a key technical moving averages because that's what the machines are looking for. All right. What else do I have? APLD I put on my ready list this week. It's trading tight. It was trading tight within the base here near the moving averages. I showed you yesterday those moving averages are tight. Well, it popped today. 7.5%. You now look at the moving averages, the 21, it's 8% above the 21, 5% above the 5. So nice move for AppLovin. And I was reading where Paramount bought a company and they might be excluded from the S&P or something. So there might be another opening for the S&P at AppLovin and Robinhood would obviously be two candidates to replace. But you know what? That's no reason to buy or sell a stock if they're entering or exiting an index. All right. I said my piece. I'll say it again, I'm sure sometime soon. Oracle, another stock just surfing the five, making new highs today, then pulling back. Looks fine. Palantir made a new high today, I believe. Yeah, 160.89. Pulled back a little bit, but just, they're reporting earnings on Monday. So, yeah, there's probably going to be some caution here. I think, whatever they report, I think it's going to be good. I think the stock goes higher in time. All right, that's it for the software group. I want to move on to the energy names. GEV, this thing has just got a magnet for 700. This thing had the same profile though, where it ramped up. I know it was above 670, right? 677. Nice. Sold off into the close. Still, up $10, nearly 1% today. Oh, it's only up $5. What was I looking at? After hours, maybe? I don't know. Still almost up 1%. I mean, close at 660 after being at 677. So that's just the profile of most names today. LEU, I put this one on the ready list earlier in the week, and now it's down to the 21. So now, yeah, I would expect it to find support at the 21 and buy off the bounce. So it'd probably be better to be buying it now than at 230, right? Rather buy it at 215 or 230, but you have to wait for the bounce. There's no guarantee that that thing's going to be bought. A couple more energy names, VST. Vistra making a new high today. They report earnings next Thursday, the 7th. TLN, this is one that's showing up on our relative strength list. You can see why. I think just blasting off into outer space. And then Oklo is another one that I like. This to me, if you look on the weekly, that looks like another base here. You got this base here. We had this base here. Consolidation. You got this base, which is kind of the um, um, liberation base. And now it's higher like 3, 4 weeks in a row. So to me, that looks like a nice base with 73.55 as a buy point. I know it's only like 5 weeks, but if it pulls back to 73.50, even 74, that's probably your 10 EMA. I have it on the 5, but yeah, Oklo is definitely one that I'm looking at for next week. They report earnings on the 11th. All right, a couple others. I got to go to the drug names. I haven't been talking about drugs enough. This is ABVX, had a nice run up. This one's on the relative strength list as well. AL New York, um, ALNY, Gap Tire. This is on the earnings, right? What am I talking about? Yeah, I already did that one. This one, INSM, this one made a new high today. This to me is another stock, kind of like Oklo. That's a short, little, tight, little, base here. It's probably 4 or 5 weeks. Yeah, okay, pattern Rex picking it up, flat base, 5 weeks. They're going to have a PDUFA, and this is August now. Tomorrow starts August, so at any time, FDA could announce approval. It could happen over the weekend. It could happen next week or the week after, or they could get rejected too, and the stock will definitely tank if that happens. I'm anticipating an approval and a run up to maybe, I don't know, 120, 125, something like that. All right. Okay. Oh, TGTX. They're reporting on Monday. I think, boy, I'm reading a lot of stuff about the estimates have been raised. If you look at market surge, you guys have market surge. If you don't, you can look around. They show the estimates here. The company guided for 135. Market surge has 138. I looked around in Yahoo and I'm seeing 141. So all these, the company guided to 135. So you have to go by what the company tells you. Now, these institutions do their due diligence and they say, okay, business is good. We're going to raise it to 140, 141, 142. Well, the company didn't say that. So they're raising the expectations without raising the price. This thing was 46.48 prior to last earnings, and it sold off on a pretty darn good earnings report. It has not participated in the Liberation Rally. I think they're going to come in at 140, 145 on sales, probably guide higher for earnings and sales. And I think this is a good time to buy here ahead of earnings. I know people don't want to buy ahead of earnings, and it could do something like this, like last time. But to me, it's making these higher lows, and you're getting it near the low here. You're getting it near the low, and I think above 40 is likely next week. I'm placing a pretty good sized bet for that. And, company like this, you got to hold through earnings. This is, and then you get, those kind of downtrends, but that's what happens. That's why you have to practice risk management, or you could just say, hey, I'm going to hold this for 5 years and it's going to be fine. I know people complain about this one. This one's up by 80% in the last year. Thank you very much. And if you go back 3 years, yeah, it's up nearly 500%. So this thing has been a beast. But people complain, that it hasn't done anything since the Liberation Rally, since the bear market of the first part of the year. But I think it tide turns on Monday. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. All right. I'm going to get the last group that I want to do is these heavy construction builders, AGX. I put this one on the ready list last 2 weeks. I'm going to take it off next week. Now that it approaches the standard buy point of 246.60, there's nothing wrong with it. It looks fine. It's 3.1% above the five, but I think it needs a couple of days or 4 or 5 days to form a little handle here around the 240, 245 level. I'm still watching it. And if it pulled back, I would definitely buy for a breakout. They don't report earnings till September. STRL, Sterling, another one that I like. Yeah, just holding serve here. Uh, Quanta, they were downgraded yesterday, pulled back nearly to the 21 today. They reported earnings this morning, I believe. Yeah, they reported earnings this morning, accelerating earnings growth, 24, 21 sales growth, that looks fine. This is kind of mechanical. Maybe it'll pull back to the 21, find support and bounce. Quanta looks fine though. It's just, had a big run off that cup with handle base, ran up from what, 350 to 400. So yeah, what can you expect, right? Can't expect much more than that. 10% move. Oh, WLDN. Yeah, this one's been on a heater since the breakout from that 43 level. It's now at 85. So that's what I'm talking about. Your two bagger in a short period of time. It's a 1.2 billion market cap. These stocks can do that. Meta and Microsoft can't. They're great for retirement accounts, paying dividends, Google, that's fine. But they're not, as a swing trader, this is a swing trader site. I'm looking for these swings here for a couple month run here. We can really make hay in a short period of time. I hope I explained myself. All right, that's it. Thank you for watching at mcstockcharts.com. We never give up, except in the honor of the great Steve Jobs. Dutch Bros, that is some really great tea, by the way. As I plug my Dutch Bros, they report next Wednesday as well. All right, we had earnings tonight from a couple companies. Apple reported it's up 3% after hours, a little better than expected on the revenues. in another company I can't get excited about, but Warren Buffett holds it, so you can't complain, right? It's been a great stock. It's just, it's big, it's going to be hard for it to move. But Amazon reported after hours. I didn't see the report, but it was down significantly, down nearly 6%. So that one's taken a hit. The one that I liked, and yeah, Reddit, man, 190 something after hours. Their report was phenomenal. I've been mentioning this, that if you paid attention to Google's report, and Google's report showed that there was real positive ad spend. Google didn't go up much on their earnings. It didn't go down much either, but it had already run up quite a bit. And Google looks fine here. But the ad spend was telling me that, Reddit was going to have a good quarter, but they had ad subscribers. I mean, on all metrics, they blew the numbers out. But the key for this move here, what, 16%, 18% after hours, is the guidance going forward. They raised significant guidance. I'm talking from, I don't know, something like 450 up to 540. I mean, really significant earnings guidance, and that's what Wall Street's looking for. Raise forward guidance. I think this thing's a beeline for 200 now, and possibly back to 230. Yeah, I mean, this is just a nice little 4 or 5 week base here, and now it's going to rip higher. Yeah, Reddit, well deserved, good company, well managed, and congrats to those guys. Net, they reported they were up pretty good after hours too, up 220. I really don't get this company. I mean, they reported, good quarter and everything. They got growth, flat earnings growth, but they got about 2 billion in sales, annual sales. And now with the move of 5%, it's a 72 billion, tack on another three, $75 billion market cap with 2 billion in sales. I mean, it's trading 35 times sales. I mean, they have to execute flawlessly for years and years and years to justify that kind of a number. Maybe they will do it, but to me, it's just a lot of risk there. I hear you. I mean, 10 times sales, 20 times sales, pretty rich, but man, you're talking 35 times sales. That's really rich. But anyway, congrats to the longs. You own that one. Another one that reported on that, I didn't see it moving much. Yeah, that was doing nothing. I don't like that company. Roku, I really don't like this company for personal reasons, but yeah, they reported down 2% after hours. And then ENVX, the battery company, they usually move. Oh yeah, they're moving down 17%. And I don't want to say anything negative, so I'm just going to move on. Chevron, pull back to the 21. They report tomorrow with oil at, what is it? Oil, I post oil every morning, like $65. These companies are going to have a hard time making money. Chevron, they have a ton of cash. I mean, we're not going to have to start a GoFundMe page for Chevron. Look at the cash flow. And the return on equity, not bad. And then same with Exxon, they report tomorrow. They got cash flow and ROE as well. But the price of oil, they really like it around 75, and 80 would be perfect for them to make money. At 65, or I don't even know what it is right now, maybe 70. It might be above 70. It's moved up a little bit recently, but it really did slump there for a while. That's it for me. Wait a minute. No, I do have a couple more. Oh, Clorox reports in the morning, or excuse me, Colgate Palmolive. I'm sure you're all looking forward to that one. And then a biotech company, drug company, Regeneron reports in the morning. So anyway, that's it. Thank you for watching at mcstockcharts.com. We never give up. How about that Reddit, huh? Look at this. Come on, man. Congrats to the longs. Never give up.